What's Brewing Sports?
I think that they're going to be kind of the surprise Cinderella team.
Just defensively, just get incrementally better.
Everybody has lived up and failed expectations.
That's it. The box score is what the box score is. It sucks for them. That's what's going on with the San Antonio Spurs.
That's what's brewing. Welcome. This is What's Brewing Sports, episode 19. I am Andrew Brott. Along with me, as always, the illustrious Richard Oliver.
Illustrious,
that's right.
I like these words, man. I'm working my way up to elegant.
Yeah,
Once I get to elegant, I know I've made it.
Right. I try to comb through the thesaurus once or twice before we go on the air, just to be sure.
So this is episode 19. So this is our we have options here because 19 was a great number for a lot of athletes over the years. Now,
right.
You always try to throw some hockey in here, so you could go with Steve Yzerman, the famous Detroit player.
Right.
You could do that if you want.
Right.
We could go with Johnny Unitas. Nothing wrong with that guy.
Yeah.
Former Colts quarterback, Hall of Famer. That guy was pretty darn good. Willis Reed of the Knicks.
Okay.
He was number 19. But I'm going to go with, because I have fond memories of this guy and actually had a chance to talk to him a few times. He's a great guy. Tony Gwynn of the Padres.
Okay.
I'm going to go with him.
Nice.
Maybe the best contact hitter I've ever seen.
Now,
other than maybe Rod Carew. But as just sheer contact.
Yeah.
And he was like 40 pounds overweight, which made it even better,
right.
Just to watch this
like
guy
Babe
play.
Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The late Tony Gwynn. I'll go with him.
Interesting.
Yeah, I go with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, so anyway, welcome to the Tony Gwynn episode.
That's right. We are back here in the kitchen. The
yes,
laboratory.
Indeed. We're not at the Roost Pub and Cafe as we were last year.
Which was a great venue. I had a lot of fun there.
It was great.
Time.
It was great. And we met a bunch of great people there, too.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
So that was kind of that's right. It's interesting because we've enjoyed doing these live podcasts, the tapings of the podcast, and because we're getting a chance to meet a few people, and talk to some different people. And now we got some people coming to us.
Yeah.
Say, why don't you come over here
That's
to our
right.
place?
Yeah,
So
check out our bar.
We're looking forward to that.
That's right.
Because incrementally as we go, they give us a little more stuff.
That's right.
And that's really what it's all about.
Exactly.
When we get down to
it. That's right. Stuff, swag, free beer.
That's all that we're about, really.
I mean, really, the free beer.
We got into this for the swag.
That's right.
That's why we're sitting at my kitchen table.
That's right. But
you got swag. You got dinner.
I did.
Mama Oliver cooked up something for you, and we got to be nice to you. You guys are down to 5 weeks now.
Oh, I know.
Till sweet baby James arrives, and then it'll be just.
Eventually I'll have to listen to that song.
No, you've never. How can you not hear that song? One of the classic songs of all time.
I mean, I'm sure I've heard it, at some point, but it's
James Taylor.
It's not on my. It's not on my playlist.
Gosh. It's like it's funny you saying that because you're of a certain age that was you were a pup when James Taylor was big,
Right.
But James Taylor was he was it in the 70s,
yeah,
in 80s, early 80s, and it reminds me the other day, and we're going to talk about the Celebrity Fan Fest of this past weekend, which just outstanding.
Oh, it was
fun.
a lot of fun.
A great time. You and I got the VIP badges on Saturday, and we hung out. Man, we hung out in the green room, and we'll talk about that here in a minute because it was a lot of fun. But I was at the Quarter Moon Productions where I do a segment for Sports Tonight every week, a couple of segments for them every week, and I was there, and so we had Robert Wool, the actor, came by.
Right.
Now, I know Robert Wool because Bull Durham's one of my favorite sports movies, certainly. Ron Shelton movie. Shelton always does these great Tin Cup, all these great movies. So Robert Wool was in that. He was in Arliss, which is, was on HBO back in the day, a fictional sports agent, did all that. So, and we'll talk more about him here in a few minutes as well. But the producers were there we're waiting for Robert Wool.
Right.
And so I'm saying, this guy, he was in Hollywood Nights. He was in Batman in 1989. And they're going like, well, I was born in 1991, so they don't know, they had no idea.
Right.
And I'm telling them about Bull Durham, and they're looking at me like I had just landed from Mars.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
How do you not know about? And then to add true insult to this whole thing,
right?
I said, you guys haven't seen those sports classics like Field of Dreams?
Yeah.
And they're like, No, I've never seen
They
it.
hadn't seen Field of Dreams.
How do you not see Field of Dreams, man?
I don't know. That's
That
bad parenting is what that is.
That is exactly bad parenting.
Yeah.
And I basically told them that. I said, you guys look at you guys. You know, my estimation of you, and I like them. You know, they're wonderful ladies, and but they're. Oh my God! I said, you guys have just fallen like 8 notches on the old rankings list here.
Absolutely.
And I rank people by if they like the movies I like.
That's right.
It's
That's
important that you like. But Field of Dreams, man, you don't dismiss Field of Dreams around me, man.
No.
You just don't do it.
No.
Because that was a great movie. But
That's
anyway,
when you get their parents on the phone
and say, listen, how do you raise this kid? But Field of Dreams, I know they would have been kids. I mean, little bitty kids. I mean, what year were you born?
86.
80. So yeah, you would have been a kid too when that movie came out.
But when it came out, but here's the thing: this is not a movie that just came out and disappeared.
Yeah, it endures.
This is a cult classic.
James Earl Jones, Ray Liotta.
Yeah,
I mean, go down the list of the actors that were in that movie.
But all of those movies are cult classics.
A guy named Kevin Costner.
Yeah, just a little nobody.
Little guy named Kevin Costner seemed like he's a pretty big guy.
Yeah,
you go back and see those. But I told him you got to go back and see that movie. It reminded me of a few years ago. I'm at Hastings Records. You remember back then? I don't know if they even still have Hastings.
I don't know if they do anymore
because nobody has records anymore. But
it's coming back.
It is coming back.
It's coming back.
And I'm in line, and I'm behind these 2 girls, and this is 10 years ago,
right?
Maybe even longer now. I'm of a certain age, so I have to kind of count with an abacus these days.
That's right.
But I'm back, and I'm behind these girls, and they're talking about Paul McCartney. And one of them says something about Paul McCartney, and the other says, yeah, he used to be in this band called Wings. And I just couldn't help it. I said, yeah, and he was in a little band called the Beatles before that. What is wrong with you kids? Who are you?
You know what, though? I had the same...
Wings was a fine band.
I had the same thing happen to me, though. So, as some of the listeners know, and of course, as you know, I was on tour recently with the show Stomp for several years.
Right.
And the interesting thing about doing that show is that, the age range is like, there are 42-year-olds still doing that show, and there are like 19-year-olds doing that show.
Right,
I mean, it
newcomers.
is a wide range of age group that is on tour with each other. So you've got to learn how to deal with a large group of different, not only personalities, but age groups and things like that.
20 or 2 decades.
Oh my gosh.
Between these. Yeah.
And we were in the green room we were probably warming up for a show, and this young kid, really great dancer, really good mover, was talking about, this Gwen Stefani and how he just discovered this new great band that she's going to start called No Doubt.
She just started it.
Yeah, just started it.
Oh
It's just it's the next thing, no doubt.
No, I'll admit, I've never heard we watched the Toronto Raptors win the championship the other night, and there's Drake. He's all over everything. I know who Drake is. I've never heard one of his songs.
You probably have.
Maybe I've heard the beat
passing.
somewhere.
You know what I mean?
But I don't know who that is. Cardi B, I heard something about her.
Right.
That irritating trill thing that she does. I've never heard that. But I'm not that guy. I'm Lyle Lovett.
Well, sure.
And
but
Kenny Chesney.
But there's an interesting dichotomy in the music business where there's the music that's popular for today, that by today's standards will meet. It'll serve your parties, right? Your river trips, your wedding receptions, those types of things.
Yeah.
But it'll disappear, and more of that music will come and filter in, and then it will serve those things, right? And so it's not going to stand the test of time.
Right.
It's not ageless or timeless. But then when you talk about James Taylor and you talk about the Beatles and you talk about, and it doesn't have to be, I think that there are some singers and some bands today that will going forward be those bands as well. Stand the test of time. I know you hate it, but Dave Matthews is definitely one of those bands.
Is he still around?
He's still around.
Okay.
Still
Just didn't know
touring.
if he was still with us. Still making bad music even today, isn't he?
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. No, that's where I know where to get
That's
you, man.
right. That's
I know where to get.
it right
and
there.
you know Field of Dreams. You can get me on Field of Dreams. Oh, my God.
But yeah, that's tough. You're not, I mean,
You're
Drake,
not going to get that. Yeah.
Drake's not
But
going to be
see,
around.
I think it's
10 years.
unforgivable these days. It's unforgivable. Apple Music, Pandora, YouTube Music now. I mean, go down the
Right.
list of all the different avenues that you could get music, that you could hear. Hotel California by the Eagles, the Beatles' White Album. You could listen. It's a fingertip away.
Right.
You can listen to all those kind of things. That's why it's unforgivable to me.
Sure.
So, but anyway, that's a whole nother What's Brewing Sports topic at some point.
That's right.
Because what's brewing is I'm pissed off.
That's right.
It's brewing up in me that I had to explain what Field of Dreams was the other day.
Right. That'll be a spin-off of this show
Yeah.
called What Grinds Richard's Gears.
What
right?
grinds my gears? Now so we go back to what started all this because Robert Wool was with us. I spent a lot of time with Robert Wool this weekend.
Yeah, you
He's
did.
a great guy, hilarious. Like I said, he was the second longest show in HBO history.
That's right.
Was Arliss and ran till about 93, 8 years in the making, and a great show, very insightful. A show that kind of explored a lot of topics, and we talked about it this weekend in the panels that I hosted at Celeb Fan Fest. But Robert Wool was one of those guys that was kind of ahead of his time in dealing with a lot of this stuff, and it was really interesting to hang with him.
Yeah, for sure. It was interesting to get his take on modern issues of today.
Yeah.
In fact, you asked him about that because he would tackle things that were a little racy of the time.
Right.
The
Abortion.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Drugs.
Exactly. Exactly. The things that are racy but no less real.
Right.
Of issues.
Right.
And then you asked him about the real issues of today, which certainly a lot of them stem around social media, these handheld miniature recording devices that we have now,
Right.
where everybody's a member of the paparazzi, whether they know what they are or not.
Right.
And how that has changed.
Yeah.
the
TMZ is here
game.
today. Yeah.
It's changed a
TMZ
lot of things.
Sports
Exactly.
actually. And I thought it was interesting because and to go back the weekend, when you think of Celebrity Fan Fest, and hats off to Bob Wills and PMX Events and Quarter Moon Productions, everybody that was involved in that, because the PM group, because that event, he understood when he said, you have Comic-Cons, which are one thing,
Right.
and we did see a lot of Comic-Con type people.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of the Avengers were there,
Right.
and you and I were lucky because we got because I was moderating one of those one of the panels, and I was able to we got VIP guest passes, so
Right.
that got us back. It got us entry into anywhere we wanted to
Everything.
go, and it was pretty remarkable because I had no idea. We showed up. I said, "Look, I got this badge. I don't know what this does." Oh, come on in.
That's right. That's right.
And we went back there. Jeremy Renner was back there. We saw Jason Momoa.
Mm-hmm.
We saw Anthony Mackie,
That's right.
who's in one of the Avengers movies. We saw Alexandra Shipp, who's in the new what's the new Dark Phoenix?
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
Dark
yeah,
Phoenix, which I didn't see because I heard it's awful.
I haven't seen it either.
So I didn't see it, but she was delightful and hilarious. And then we
Right.
saw Ernie Hudson again, going back to my. Now kids, that Ghostbusters, that's with Melissa, what's her face?
yeah,
No,
right.
No, it's not. It's with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis. And go back.
That's right.
But Ernie Hudson was there from Ghostbusters, and actually talked to him and spent some time with him. And then Malik Rose was there.
Yeah.
And so my point is that what was really great was that Bob Wills put together this panel, and instead of it being just a Comic-Con with just geeks and comic book heroes,
Right.
and the Spider-Man, we saw Spider-Man walking around, and the Hulk, and the Wolverines, and everybody
Yeah,
were all
right.
walking around in costume
The
and all that.
cosplay, got dressed up.
He did
as-
sports. He said Celebrity Fan Fest. He took that literally. So he had Robert Wool, and we had the panel was Our Life in Sports. Our Life in Sports. So it was Robert Wool, and it was Malik Rose, and so here, and those guys playing off each other. Here's a fictional sports agent who was also in a lot of sports movies,
Right.
Ron Shelton movies. And here's Malik Rose, who loved Arliss and watched those, and his perspective on how before I became a pro athlete, that show was on the air.
Right.
Late 90s. Then he joins the Spurs in 1998, wins a championship in 99. Suddenly
Right.
he's a pro athlete, and he's seeing the show from a different perspective.
Right.
And it was really fascinating seeing them kind of go back and forth about that.
Well, and now it's really fascinating to hear him talk because now he's an assistant GM.
Right, the Detroit Pistons. Yeah.
And so now it's a whole different perspective because now it's not just player, right? But now it's the other side of the curtain and being in charge of players and what that's like. And, and listening to him talk about that and you guys asking questions about that was pretty cool. And to hear him talk about dreading the 2 a.m. phone calls and you know how they coach the players, you know, to deal with social media and to deal with hot topics of the era, of the times, and how they support or don't support that, etc. And it actually sounds like they were really supportive of that. They were supportive of players having a voice. They just wanted to make sure that the players understood the weight of having a voice and handled that voice with responsibility and care.
Yeah, even tweeting about politics or something that would be taken on a spin that they don't want to be on.
Exactly.
You know? And that was interesting too. Just you don't think of it that way. And also for Robert Wool to talk about, even people think of him as an agent. You know, he had to kind of he's had to kind of answer questions like as if he's an agent because he was so deep into it and he was with so many different agents, Arn Tellem, you know, all the different Drew Rosenhaus, guys who Scott Boras, guys who are, you know, a couple of them are still around, but guys who are so he just spent so much time with them and studied them and learned from them that he has a perspective on it that even an agent might have, you know.
Sure.
So that was very interesting, and I thought that that whole weekend and the idea of having those guys all in the same room together and hearing them talk and discuss all the different kind of stuff, and that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
And then we got to kind of geek out, just kind of seeing some of these. One observations, I'll give you mine, and you. Jeremy Renner's a small guy.
He is a small guy.
Here's this guy. Now you and I, I've seen Wind River. You haven't seen that movie, but outstanding movie. But you know they look so larger than life on the movie screen.
Right.
And I've always heard about how little Tom Cruise is and some of these other guys, but Matt Damon and everything. He's small. Jeremy Renner was slightly built.
Right.
And that was kind of interesting to me. Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, big guy.
Yeah.
You look at Jason Momoa and think he's a giant, and then you and I stood next to him, and I was staring him in the eyes.
Yeah.
He's not as tall. He's 6'1" or 6'2".
Right.
And that's interesting because on the screen,
yeah, he looks like 6'5", 6'6".
And the real revelation to me, and again, I'll get was Dolph Lundgren.
I was going to say Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, so Dolph Lundgren. Okay, so Dolph Lundgren. Well, I'll let you talk about that. But another guy whose size was different than what you saw when he was in the Rocky movies.
That's right. Not as tall as you would expect by any means, but and the one comment as soon as you brought it up with so many people we ran into, hey, how about the size of this person? And that's what everybody loved that topic, right? Mm-hmm. But as soon as you mentioned Dolph Lundgren, everybody's mind immediately went to, now imagine how tall Sylvester Stallone is,
or how not tall he is.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think Lundgren, he was 6', 6'2".
Yeah, but I think on the internet he's listed as 6'5".
Yeah,
which then you got to go back and look at these internet postings, like when you Google and they have their height next to him, and you're like, no, not in person, in person.
Now Malik is listed as 6'7", and I believe that.
Wait, yeah,
he was 6'7".
He's just a big guy.
He is a big guy, but man, just the nicest guy and a smart guy. But Dolph Lundgren was the one that was a real revelation.
But he's still wide as a refrigerator. I mean, he's still pretty built.
61 years old, and he was built. He was ripped.
Now, the most incredible thing that I think we learned about him, though, being a graduate of MIT.
What a genius he is.
Yeah.
Fulbright scholar at MIT.
Chemical engineering.
2 PhDs.
Yeah.
And all this kind of stuff. And just got into acting because somebody saw him. And
he was like a bouncer, or he was just working security somewhere. Yeah.
And they just pulled him over while working. But his folks were engineers. And,
yes, folks. His whole family's engineers.
And there was another, and so we're getting on the topic, but this is kind of athletics because Rocky was such a cultural icon when we were growing up. But Dolph Lundgren, he's English. I mean, he's American.
Yeah.
When he started speaking, you're like, wait a minute, you're American. And it reminded me because you and I watched Jason Momoa's panel, and Jason Momoa, who's Aquaman, and he's a
Khal Drogo.
He's a superstar. And he was Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones, and he talked about how when it was over, he couldn't find a job and he was broke.
Yeah.
like a year after he did the Game of Thrones, and he was like selling his car to produce.
People didn't think he spoke English.
People didn't think he spoke English. And he couldn't get a role anywhere. I thought that was really curious. And Dolph Lundgren had to be, I will break you.
Yeah,
That's all I remember from the guy. That's all he said the whole movie.
I must break you.
I must break
That's
you.
the only thing I've ever
That's all he
quoted
said.
of Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, he's like, this guy's Vladimir Putin, man. I don't know anything about this guy.
That's right.
But that was kind of the fun part of it, was just to see these guys.
Yeah.
And now you kind of want to go back and watch some of the movies.
Humanize them and get to see them as people rather than just what they are through all of the optics of makeup and hair and special effects and everything that Hollywood does to make people seem just larger than life.
Right.
Which, then it does go to show you that, we can all be made to appear a certain way.
I'm still waiting for that help.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this is low budget, so what you are is about what we're going to get.
So they have the Facebook Live of my panel when I did, we were on the big screen, the big stage on Sunday, on Father's Day, and we come trotting out there, and so I come out and kind of warm up the crowd. Hey, so glad you're here. Hey, we're going to come in from Chicago. I bet your arms are tired after flying. And I'm doing all that stuff, and it's but I had a great time. But I watched the Facebook Live, and I go out there and I said, who is that old geezer up there trying to get this crowd to laugh? This poor guy.
You're the worst about that.
That's me.
Yeah.
That's me. All right, but you know what? Here's another thing about coming out of that, because we talked about the NBA Finals. So getting back to sports, at that on Sunday.
Nice.
And you missed Sunday, but it was a really good conversation about the Raptors winning the championship.
Okay.
And how Malik talking about in 1999, the Spurs won the championship at San Antonio, first championship.
Right.
So the city was going nuts.
Right.
And we talked a little bit about the asterisk idea of that, where Phil Jackson slapped an asterisk, the Lakers head coach, about, hey, it was a short season. They only played
That's right.
how many
That's
games and blah, 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 50 games or whatever. And they won the championship. But it wasn't, does it really count, and so people always got, all upset with the Kiss My Asterisk T-shirts and all this kind of stuff. And then in 2003, the Spurs win again, and Malik was there. But was interesting him talking about the first championship at San Antonio and how special it was. But then we talked about, well, how about Toronto? And then we saw today more than almost 2 million people at the parade in Toronto for them winning the championship. And he said, well, look, when San Antonio won the championship, that was San Antonio's championship.
Right. It was a city.
Toronto won the championship. It was a country.
Right.
This is Canada's championship. They beat the United States at something. And to them it was like that's why the whole country turns out for the parade. They had 36 million people watching, Game 6. So you look at those kind of things and you think, well, that's true. That is the difference of that passion.
Right.
Is that the whole country's behind the Toronto Raptors. But for us, it was a city.
Yeah, right.
So I guess that is a little bit different than what you got.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you know what? This is such a hot topic. I have some takes, by the way, on this finals. I'm not completely finished yet with this. I got a lot of issues with you people.
I got things. I got things to say.
We're gonna celebrate Festivus on this show, but let's put a pin on that and take a quick break, and let's dive right into our brew topic of the day.
Oh, yeah. And I like this one.
Yeah.
I like this one.
I like the idea that you came up with. So we were talking before the show. We always muse around. What do we want to talk about today? What is the brew topic of the day?
Right.
And I loved your idea.
Mm-hmm.
I loved your idea talking about, okay, so we are on a deserted island.
Right.
So what's your go-to... What? What's your go-to?
I'm thinking of the swill beers.
Okay.
The awful. Now, I'm a beer snob. Like Shiner is that's about as far down as I'll go.
Yeah. Okay.
And I like Shiner.
Right.
But that's as far down as I like craft beer, and I'm a beer snob.
That's the bottom level.
That's the bottom, and it's a good level. I like Shiner a lot.
Right.
But okay, so if you're stuck on a desert island, I ask you, Andrew Brott, you've got an ice chest of Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Lite, Ultra, and you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, sure.
In my mind, this is like piss, urine, swill, just backwash. This is stuff that in college you used to drink about 8 of them, and then you'd start getting a buzz.
That's right.
This is So if you had to, if
Right.
you're on, look, I want a beer. I'm on a desert island. I've only got these 4 or 5 choices.
Right, right.
The plane crashed, and this floated up on the shore.
Right, right.
Ice chests of Michelob Ultra. What do you get? I'm gonna say, just because of memories. I'll say Bud Light.
Bud Light. Okay.
Because when I was in college, Bud Light was. That's what we had no money.
Yeah.
You'd buy nothing. I mean, we used to go. There's a place, the Dixie Chicken, which is famous on Northgate. You obviously,
Right.
Katie went to A&M. You're an honorary Aggie. You were there more than me. And on Northgate, they used to have the Pearl beer.
Yes.
And you could pay a quarter for it.
From down here, right?
Yeah, at the
Pearl
time,
Brewery.
yeah. But the Dixie Chicken used to serve this stuff. I guess it was Pearl or something, but it was a quarter. These little glasses.
Yeah.
So, college kids are going, ooh, I got a quarter. Here, give me a beer. And it's like water.
Yeah.
Water with a little. So, but anyway, I'll say Bud Light.
Bud Light. Okay.
And they were big Cowboys sponsors.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if they may still be.
I think they are.
But they used to have all the Cowboys on the cans, and I was a Cowboys fanatic as a kid.
Right.
So, all right. So Bud Light's mine.
Okay. Well, I gotta say, first of all, this topic I think is hilarious, and I love the topic. Never mind the fact that we probably lost about half our viewership.
Sorry, Bud Light.
On knocking.
Sorry, Bud Light.
What they claim to be is America's beer.
Yeah, listen. We got Freetail,
I know,
Alamo beer. Come on, man.
You look,
the Roost Pub. Come on.
We're in a new
Weathered
era.
Souls.
We're
Bring
in a
it.
new era of beer, guys.
There's beer out there.
Let's
we can find it.
Let's embrace the future.
Okay. You know what? Convince us.
That's right.
We can be bought.
That's
We can be bought. Bring it on.
That's right. Bring your checkbooks. So I think for me, it's Coors Light because I think when I was in college around that time, that was the Bud Light because Bud Light was around. And so then the other companies, wanted to jump in and become the generic, lager, follow the generic lager model of sorts. And so, I think I had more Coors Light than I had anything else. The thing is that, I couldn't even describe to you what Coors Light tastes like.
Right.
And in fact, I just did a like 8-mile kayak trip with my cousin last week, and I had some leftover Coors Light in the fridge, so that's what I took with me. And I just had it. I have no recollection of what it tasted like.
Yeah,
I think it was water with some carbonation.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
it's mentally you feel like you're drinking beer. They're just mentally they're coaching you that way,
Right.
but it's not really.
It's not far from me drinking like the sparkling waters from HEB.
That's right.
It's like,
It's like, hey, put this ginger ale in that Bud Light can. See what they'll just go for it all day long. Yeah.
That's right.
Perrier water.
Could you
with
imagine the
God.
scandal?
It'd just be. Although I think ginger ale probably costs more than the Bud Light does.
Definitely to make.
Yeah. So probably not the best comparison because that's it. All right. So I say Bud Light. You say Coors Light.
Yeah.
I thought you would say Busch.
You know what? I'm glad you said that.
Busch.
I don't remember the commercial, but my dad used to drink Busch Light all the time.
Yeah, and it was what was the 10,000 Lakes winner though? Or was that was it the Colorado? Was that Colorado?
Maybe.
Busch or Coors? Maybe the Pabst or Coors? I don't know.
Pabst is good.
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Okay, Pabst. I forgot Pabst.
I grew up, man, with that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So. Yeah, that's a good brew topic, though.
That is a good
Although
brew
we've
topic.
lost every sponsor we might have gotten.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And half the listeners.
But we love Shiner.
That's right.
Shiner. That's a Ruby Redbird. I got the Shiner Bach going tonight.
That's right.
So
Shiner can call us day or night. I will take that phone call.
You want. And I love their seasonal brews. That's even the best part of it. Now, before we transfer, our good buddy Roy Bragg, who was on with us last week. So as we sit here at La Mansión de Oliver at the kitchen table, the Astros are in a rain delay.
Oh, right.
So they're in Cincinnati and it's raining. And so Roy is a big Astros fan. So one of the favorite things for me to do during the 3 or 4 months of, really being in baseball is just we text back and forth. He's not fond of Cincinnati not being undercover. That stadium.
Okay.
He said it would be nice. He texted me. I don't think Roy minds that I read these I read this.
I don't think
And
Roy
I'll
minds many
apologize in
things.
advance if he does, but too late. It would be nice if these backwards-ass country towns would use the prevailing technology and put retractable roofs over their stadiums. It ain't like Great America, the Cincinnati ballpark. It ain't like
Right.
Great America is Wrigley or Fenway. It's about as ubiquitous.
Nice.
Now, see, there's a journalist talking here.
Yeah.
It's about as ubiquitous as a stadium can be.
Right.
And you know what? His backward passive-aggressive swipe there is to the Rangers.
Yeah.
Now, they're finally building one.
Right.
They're finally building the new ballpark. Globe Life is going to be, retractable roof
Right,
next year.
right.
The Astros have had one for years now. Because the Astros recognized from the Colt 45 days when mosquitoes were carrying off small children, they were like, we got to get a roof. That's why they built the Alamo Dome, because in Houston,
Yeah, right.
you just can't do it in Houston.
No.
In fact, I'm not even sure why Minute Maid has a retractable roof.
Right.
Because
when are
it's
you going to
either
want to open it?
180% humidity, or because it's in a bayou and it rains there
Right.
all the time, and there's always something going on. It's always 110 degrees and
Right.
just that much. So I'm not sure. It's like when they do open the roof, it's like, ooh, it must be fall or April or something. Because from about May 1st to the end of the year, to the end of the season,
Right.
Until maybe October 1st,
Right,
maybe
right.
you could go ahead and open it. But anyway, that I love the fact that Roy kind of just tears into whoever
Going
feels
after
like.
that.
We
Yeah,
got
I
a sense
do.
of it last week on the podcast.
Oh my
and now
God.
we go. So
Actually, I had someone contact me after they listened to that episode. They want in on our trailer idea that we came up with, by the way. Roy's idea about buying that little property next to the pornographic store and
yeah, they want in on that.
enlisting it as a city, and then taking out all the bonds, and that was pretty. That's not the first time he's thought of that.
Build a stadium right there. Cash in.
Default on all the loans.
Just cash in. Just build it. Genius. That is as American as it can get. That is so American. Royville. We just call it Roy Town.
That's right.
Something like that. Oh, man.
Oh my gosh.
All right, we did the brew topic. We putting a pin in that one?
Let's put a pin in that one.
All right, okay.
To the 15 of you still listening,
After we lost all the Bud Light fans, lost all the Coors and Bud Light.
I
Miller,
still think,
Miller
what?
beer survived it.
That's right. You know what? If you're that sensitive, though, this isn't the show for you.
No, God, it is the beer. Now, I will say that we did have a serious topic we want to talk about. We want to kind of address this because it's a couple of articles that come out recently about the Alliance of American Football.
Yeah.
And about the demise of that league, and just what an absolutely bizarre chain of events led to not only the creation of the Alliance of American Football, but the collapse of the AAF and what happened. Charlie Ebersol and Dick Polian and all the different kind of things that happened along those lines, or Bill Polian, I should say. So I just look at those kind of things, and I still now, even months later, I'm amazed and I'm astounded and befuddled and all the different kind of things you could think of, flabbergasted at how that league was created in the first place, in the face of, as you were talking earlier about the amount of talent and people who are smart enough and savvy enough to know better than being involved in what they got involved in with that league.
Right. Well, this article came out, and I was so shocked. Here's the crazy thing about this entire thing. So Thursday morning, the article was released on ESPN. So Thursday morning, I woke up early and made breakfast and took Katie to work. And on the way, for some reason, I was kind of in a bad mood, and maybe she was just trying to get me to talk about something to get my mind off of being in whatever mood I was in.
Right.
And so she starts talking to me randomly about the AAF. And she was like, so what happened with that? And I hadn't thought about it for weeks because we haven't covered it. And, it's just been kind of this thing. And so we had this long conversation. I kind of go into a little bit about what I understood it to be and whatever. And then I had a meeting with somebody. So I drove to a coffee shop. I opened my laptop, start reviewing for the next show that we're going to do. And ESPN, the headline banner page is this AAF article.
Right.
The weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But she's so weird anyway. She's Nana. She's probably divined this whole thing.
Right.
And so and you get into this article, and first of all, what amazing writing.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
No,
this writer was
astounding.
just phenomenal.
Right.
I mean, I haven't even looked at who the writer is yet because I'm still combing through the article.
Right.
But I mean, he just puts you right there in the middle of this whole thing, paints a great picture, and the way that he marries, the imagery and the idea of the story with the facts of the story, it's. I mean, it kind of gave me chills reading through it.
Yeah.
How he paints this story. But basically, Charlie Ebersol, maybe a few months older than I am, 34, 33 years old,
yeah.
not much older, son of Dick Ebersol, who did Dick.
NBC, just a giant of broadcasting.
Right. So
production.
did he create NBC or he just turned it into what it was?
No, he turned a sports entity. He lifted it to the next level.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
A lot of live sport, Olympics, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So you go back, it looks back, the history of this whole thing is that Dick Ebersol and Vince McMahon.
McMahon.
Oh, it's McMahon. It's not McMahon.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
You could call him that. Just not to his face.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Vince McMahon.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they conspired together to create XFL 1.0
Right.
in 2001, and it just fails.
Right.
And I don't even.
Well, it took a couple of years, but yeah, just they tried it. They couldn't push it through.
Right. And so then years and years go by, and everybody's salivating to create spring football.
Right.
Everybody swears that there's this phantom desire for it, that there is
Yeah.
a network of people salivating for this thing, which is weird.
And it never dies.
I think that there might be, but it's weird because nothing ever survives.
Right.
So it makes you question, is there really that kind of a need, a desire for it?
Yeah.
I don't know. So years later, Charlie Ebersol, I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. It's so rich, though. Charlie Ebersol, in college, flying back to Notre Dame with his dad and his younger brother on a private plane. That plane crashes, and his younger brother dies. The
Yeah.
pilot dies. He gets out of the plane, and his dad, I'm sure the plane's on fire. His dad's still in the plane. He runs into the plane, pulls his dad out.
Right.
So basically all that's to say is that now he believes he's on this borrowed time.
Right.
He feels that he's, kind of been he's been selected to achieve something great. He feels this, instinctual desire, this need to do
Right,
it, which
right.
is, that's great. I understand that. So he comes up with this idea. We're going to take on this idea of spring football. And he conspires with, I guess, a longtime friend of his dad's, Bill Polian,
Right.
to put this thing together. And this thing was a blunder from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, he never
Yeah.
had the money. Now we all know that McMahon is trying to come back with XFL 2.0.
Right.
And allegedly he has secured and has guaranteed $500 million behind that.
Right.
And so in a rush, it sounds like, to beat them
that, yeah.
beat them into creating a league that's been ongoing and to start relationships with the NFL and kind of box out any other rival with the NFL, potentially starting a farm league for the NFL.
Right.
They rush into this whole operation. And if you haven't read the article, because I don't have time to sit here and go through it point by point, but it's just, it's a movie.
Yeah,
it's a
it's
movie
amazing.
script. It is just bizarre.
He's just involved with the guys who promised things that they couldn't deliver on.
Nobody.
Reggie Fowler, the guy's now been indicted for fraud charges.
Was arrested back in April.
Yeah, he's just got, so many different things happening there that just people who were just nefarious in their dealings, and Ebersol just got hoodwinked. But that's the thing, like we talked about, Bill Polian, that guy's got pedigree. Buffalo Bills, Carolina Panthers. He and Bill
Indianapolis
Parcells.
Colts?
Yeah, he and Bill Parcells were best friends.
Yeah.
They, the football guys, they understood it.
As GM of the Bills, they made 4 back-to-back Super Bowl appearances. They didn't win any of them, but 4 that no other team has made 4. And think about the Patriots. Everybody hails the Patriots.
Yeah, the Cowboys beat them twice.
No other team has made it 4 years in a row to a Super Bowl.
Right.
And under his leadership, they did.
Right.
And then under his leadership, the Indianapolis Colts win a Super Bowl.
Right.
They go twice. They win 1. How does somebody who has all of that experience and knowledge of the league and knowledge of how operations work, how do you participate in this and you're part of the blunder?
And it was immediate. It was fast. They couldn't meet payroll after the first week. There was like stories started coming out already that look, they don't have the money they thought they had. They roared, and you said it right. They pushed into this thing so quickly, thinking that but when you read the article, they knew.
Yeah.
They suspected. Man, something's not right.
And nobody said anything.
This smells
right.
And they started. First, they were like security on all the with all the teams, trainers with all the teams, and they started just pulling that stuff.
Yeah.
You started had to room together, and you had to do all this kind of little things that were kind of saying, we don't have any money.
Right.
We got to start doing this kind of stuff right away. And then, but I thought it was really interesting is you read about Tom Dundon, the guy who comes in,
right,
saves them, pledges the money, but doesn't give it to them, but pledges the money, and then finds out literally 2 or 3 days later, whoa, this is not.
Right.
This isn't what was advertised to me.
That's right.
And I know people think he's the bad guy and everything, but all I think about guys like that, like Mark Cuban and Tom Dundon and everything like that, these guys are sharks, man.
Right.
This is business. Jerry Jones, go down the list of the different guys who have money like that. They don't just by accident get that kind of money.
Right.
They're not afraid to gamble. They're not afraid to go out on the limb on that kind of stuff. But when they go out there, they're not going to go so far out to say, this limb's going to break. I'm going to fall to my death.
Right. That's not the guy that's going to go down with the ship.
No, he knows. He knows. And he was. And hey, I'm sorry about your teams. I'm sorry about your players. I'm sorry about your injuries. I'm sorry about all blah 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 blah. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
I'm not jumping in on this death ship and going down with it.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. So the AAF goes down, and as you and I talked about a few weeks ago, I think that is the most remarkable collapse I've ever seen.
Well,
in short order, and the article kind of clarifies for us all just what a folly it was from the get-go.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's Firefest 2.0. It's the same, almost exact same situation in a different setting. I mean, and again, nobody did their due diligence, including Tom Dundon, who admits that in the artitive. It says, I didn't do my due diligence.
Because of the guys that were on the other side.
Well, right. Because
there's Charlie Ebersol. There's Bill Polian.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Steve Spurrier. Oh, there's all these different kind of guys they've got pedigree.
And it's just bizarre. I don't indict Steve Spurrier, those guys, because they're just coaches. They're not given insight to how all this stuff is operation. Nobody knew. Less than a week before they were supposed to come out here to San Antonio for training, they didn't have tickets for anybody. They didn't have the money, and they were according to this article, they were about to close. They were going to close down the league before it got started, December 26th. On Christmas Day, this past December 25th. Reggie Fowler finally came through with some money and said, hey, I'm sorry, my funds are being held up, which we learned later was because the Department of Treasury was doing some digging and investigating, which he ended up getting arrested for.
His Israeli partner or whatever.
Who is now missing.
Yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah.
But he finally comes through with some funds from his own personal accounts. So they were ready to close before they even got off the ground back in December, and then no disclosure of that, as like just some prayer miracle answered. He gets the money, and then he said green lights the whole thing. He says, "Great, we're good to go." So then he sends everybody out here, and
right.
I mean, but it's just a mess. I mean, you didn't have money to even get people out for training.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Look at all the hotels in San Antonio still don't have money.
I know.
And
the vendors.
They're not going to get their money. Yeah, vendors and San Antonio Sports lost money. I mean,
that's right.
Go down the list of some people that were going to be sponsors, and I feel bad for especially just as the last thing to say, I feel bad for the Commanders and about the people who are running that team, Vic Gregovitz and some different people that were good people, and came in and did some really good things. And Mike Riley's just the greatest guy, and the head coach of the team. And I don't know, man, that's one of those things that I feel really sorry though, because we're just selfish about this for San Antonio.
Yeah.
Because San Antonio came out and supported that team and wanted to be a part of something special. And they, when you come out for this pissant startup league and you draw 26,000 people, 27,000 people to a game, I mean, good Lord.
Yeah.
You need to be rewarded for that. So
exactly.
We're 0-12 or whatever now in these teams. So I'm wondering if at some point, and you know what, it's a burr in my saddle about this kind of stuff because now we're even on dangerous ground with our baseball team right now.
Right.
And I just, let's just either support this stuff or why don't we just say, look, we're just not a sports town.
Right.
We're not into this kind of stuff. We're
Right.
not willing to invest in it and let's just move on.
Right.
Because the Milwaukee Brewers have a 2-year contract with the Missions. That's as small a contract as you can have. And so the AAA team, it's going to be gone.
Now, who is that an indictment of? Is it an indictment of just fans in general showing up, or is it an indictment of investors that are here that could potentially help that kind of stuff?
Well, I think
in your mind.
Well, in my mind, the city has to be proactive in working with Dave Elmore, the Missions owner, or vice versa. I don't know why they enter into this agreement to go to AAA if they're not going to build a ballpark. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how whoever's supposed to build it. I don't know. Other communities do it.
Yeah.
Louisville, Indianapolis,
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Exactly.
Let's go down the list of the different places who have built these ballparks downtown and do just fine.
Right.
And we have 37 million visitors a year. Build a ballpark downtown in the hotel district. Let people walk over to see a baseball game under the Tower of the Americas.
Exactly.
It would work. People would love it.
Absolutely.
Like they do in Round Rock, like they do in Corpus Christi.
Right.
They show up and watch baseball on a beautiful summer night. You know exactly where you are. You have a sense of place.
Right.
And, build yourself a ballpark down where the Institute of Texan Cultures is. Put a ballpark there where everyone says, oh, there's the Tower of the America. I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
Right.
On a summer night watching baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's not the Alliance of American Football, but that's my little rant for the evening. And we're going to get Mayor Nuremberg. We're going to get Ron on with us.
That's right.
And he's already, now that he's won the election.
That's right. That's right.
And I've already
Schedule's
texted
clearing
him.
up a little bit.
He's a little pissed about his Red Sox right now. But they're playing better baseball, so we'll see. We're going to get him on here. We're going to talk. Why can't we get a AAA stadium?
Well, maybe we should go out to what if we went out to the park?
We're going out to
and then we
Wolf
have him out there.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we're going to be there at 7 o'clock. Ron, get out there.
That's right.
Let's talk baseball.
We'll see you in the parking lot.
We'll see you in the parking lot, buddy. And, he's a good guy, so I think
that's not really a guy I want to tell that to.
No, yeah, he's in better shape than both of us put together. That's for sure. No, great article. If you have a chance, get on ESPN.com. Look that article up. Alliance of American Football.
It's
amazing,
a phenomenal article. And just like I said, that's guaranteed to be a Hollywood script. Mm-hmm. I mean, the thing is it's written like a Hollywood script. It's unbelievable.
Robert Wool.
Yeah, that's right.
Ron Shelton and Robert Wool could put it together.
That's
Kevin Costner could play the Bill Polian role. We've got to figure this out. We could do this.
We could cast it right here on this show.
Jeremy Renner, Charlie Ebersol. We can figure this out, man. We can do this.
That's right.
Put
just
it together.
from the people we met this weekend.
Yeah. Pick up the phone. Let's do this thing.
That's right. All right. Well, before we go to the last topic, which we're gonna go over, I just want to throw just a quick little thing about the U.S. women's national soccer team, they're just destroying it right now out in France.
Yeah.
They're obviously controversy with, running up the score against
ugly Americans.
Yes,
and all that
that's
stuff.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And then, they beat Chile again in true fashion, 3-0. But so they were, a lot of backlash after that first game running up the score, which, by the way, I didn't realize at the time the points matter.
That's the whole idea.
The points, lead to whether or not what place you're going to be in. So the more goals you score,
point differential means everything.
It's everything. Yeah. So why everybody's up in arms about that is just
they beat Thailand,
I know.
13-0, but Thailand beat somebody last year 11-0.
Right.
And was doing cartwheels on the floor. They're out there breakdancing, after they scored. So I don't know. It's just one of those things but we're America.
Well, right.
And that's okay.
And the thing is, too, I think the human psychology is we all need our devils. We all need that thing to hate, to rail against. And, it's why all of this is entertainment.
Sure.
You gotta you can't have a Batman without a Joker. You know what I mean?
Right. If social media wasn't inflaming everything,
it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be near.
If this had been 1980.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure anybody would care at this level.
Right.
But it's immediate. It was immediate.
Yeah.
It was like griping and pissing and moaning about it, and all of a sudden it became this thing.
Yeah.
And but I love it. I loved that when they beat Chile 3-0 the other day, and Carly Lloyd, after she scores one, does a golf clap.
The golf clap.
She's out there
That's
doing a little golf
That's
clap.
right.
They were just like, okay, here you go.
Which is, I guess, inspired by her husband, right? Brian Hollins.
Yeah, the golfer.
He's an ex golf pro. He's now an assistant golf pro, I think, for Trenton Country Club or
Oh, I don't
something,
know,
which
yeah.
I think maybe in New Jersey,
Yeah.
according to Google.
Yeah, well, there is a trend in New Jersey, yes, yeah. So yeah, but I think I've never heard of that school or that trend. It's not a big one.
No,
a big school, not a powerhouse in any way.
No. But,
No, and in fact, one of the girls, women on the team, her husband Zach Ertz is the tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right, that's right.
I think her name's Julie. Julie Ertz, I think. I don't know, but not a big women's soccer. I don't know the team number. I know
right.
Alex Morgan.
Everybody
because
write to
she's
Richard Oliver, care of What's Brewing Sports.
I know Alex Morgan because she's a super Sports Illustrated model. That's all I know. She's big time on the team. That's all I know. All I know. But yeah, no. You know what? I hope that they beat France or whoever it's going to be in the championship.
Totally.
8-0, and I hope they just dance all over their heads.
I know. But I like that they trolled everybody with the golf clap.
Yeah, it's just like okay.
That's why I bring it up. I like the trolling.
I think they're
great.
probably going to do okay. They're going to be okay in the long run. Yeah. All right, what you got for the last one?
All right, so obviously we need to talk NBA Finals.
Yes.
And
you've been chomping at the bit.
There's many things.
Yeah, you've been
There's a
chomping at
draft
the bits
coming
for this.
up,
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing.
Because we had a big trade in the NBA too this week.
That's right.
Big trade. Anthony Davis going from New Orleans to LA and the Lakers and all that is actually spins off of the NBA Finals because of the Warriors are now they lost a bunch.
Yeah,
Not
they
only
did.
in the NBA Finals, they lost the future.
That's right.
With Durant going down and now Klay Thompson going to be out for a while.
huge.
That was monstrous.
Just watching that unfold was just unreal.
Yeah.
In that game 6. And they were on pace. They were going to absolutely take over that game.
Yeah.
They were.
Which tells me, Andrew, I'm telling you, the Warriors had to deal with the devil, and they had to pay. It all comes clear to me now.
There it is.
It all comes, because it all came crashing down.
Yeah, it did.
In a big way.
Oh my gosh! In the biggest way, it seems like
there was some signatures in blood. There was a bunch of vats of brew. Just.
The only player
witches.
left was Steph Curry.
Yeah, and he couldn't. What was he going to do?
Oh,
and they still almost won that game.
They still almost won that game.
Came back, yeah.
I know.
So enjoy it, Toronto.
I know. But here's the thing.
All right,
let's
here you go.
Yeah,
I know you got stuff you want to say on this.
Here's my thing, though, and that's fine. And I get if we just accepted this as the finals and said, look, 2019, this was the finals. Toronto played Golden State. Golden State lost some players. Kawhi Leonard was playing with Toronto, and they won. And they won some. But they won some games kind of handily, and they didn't quite as handily. And we could just leave it at that. But this talk of how great Kawhi Leonard is because of it, right? And how that this finals is one of the best because they beat the Golden State Warriors. If you're gonna talk like that, you're a moron, and you deserve you're the one who deserves the asterisk.
Right.
Then. I don't think it's fair to punish the teams because Toronto had no. I don't think Toronto went out and was like, let's kill Klay Thompson and let's take out so and so. I don't think that definitely didn't happen, right?
Like the Warriors taking out Kawhi 2 years ago.
Yeah, right.
Zach putting his peculiar, whatever his name was.
That's right, where he comes down on the foot. But so it's not fair to the players. But the other thing is, so first, just keep your mouth shut about the comparisons and all of this stuff. It's just not needed, right? It's just you're just fanning the flames to for the criticism and the ridicule. Just graciously accept the trophy and move on, because that there is just a mountain of ridicule out there that you just don't want to taunt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because
Toronto's not going to be back.
You're not going to be back. You're not going to be.
This was
Kawhi's not going to stay there.
You're the 2011 Dallas Mavericks.
Yes, exactly.
And now it's going to all fall apart. Kawhi's going to LA.
Right.
And you got nothing.
Yeah.
Now maybe you'll find something. I don't know.
Right.
But
no.
what is it going to be?
That's it.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about this like this was you were the 94 Bulls or something.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
I mean,
right.
like you're not, and that's okay. But just
and nobody south of Niagara Falls cared.
no one cared. And we said it several times on the show. We were bold enough to do that and say I wouldn't be watching this game if it wasn't a sports thing that we should talk about.
Right.
You know, if we weren't a sports show covering it, I'd be in the pool right now,
Right.
having a beer, having the best time.
Yeah.
Instead of having to
and
talk
not losing
about
a second of
this
sleep over
garbage basketball. So that's my first thing. I just think, your comparisons, your whatever, Kawhi Leonard is a very strong player. He's obviously an elite player, but so is everybody in the NBA. If you're on the starting roster of an NBA team, you're an elite player.
You're pretty good.
And that needs to just kind of be where it sits. I don't know why Michael Jordan always has to get brought in the conversation. Every time someone makes a layup, now they're
Right.
Michael Jordan.
Right.
You make a strong move, you're Michael Jordan. They
Well-
didn't even play the same position. What are we doing?
But I will say this. I mean, let's give Kawhi Leonard his props on this though. To be an NBA Final MVP
Sure.
in 5 years apart, to come back from what we now presume to be was an injury last year.
Right.
We'll say it was an injury. And even Malik kind of talked about that, a little bit. The fact that a player doesn't typically fake an injury, just not for a whole year. They're competitors. He said that elsewhere. I hope I didn't get him fined right there. But I think that's one of those things that I got to give Kawhi props. And it's funny. I'm not happy with Kawhi. I'm certainly not happy with Uncle Dennis. I don't like the way they did it. I don't like the whole the mouthing off about the Spurs after the championship was won. All that stuff.
Right.
Class always tells. That's John Shulian wrote that, great sports writer. Always wrote that. He wrote it about Alexis Arguello, the boxer. He always says, class always tell, because Alexis Arguello was a very classy guy. And I always remember that phrase.
Yeah. I like
Class
that.
always tells. If you're class, you'll see it.
Right.
Class speaks for you just by your actions, by the way you act. Kawhi and his troop have not been very classy.
Right.
And whatever, that's fine. But I will give him props. He is a supernatural talent.
Sure.
That guy is incredible.
No, he
what
is.
he was able to do. I saw him getting hacked, just butchered at the basket, and still being so strong to be able to get that ball in.
And put it in. Yeah.
Because we talked about how embarrassing basketball has become in stretches where just missing layups, just stuff around the basket where players are just not getting it done. Even Steph Curry missed some just point blank shots. Kawhi didn't miss too many of those.
No.
He got close to the basket. He's got a nose for it.
And you're exactly right. And that's what I'm saying. And that's the thing, is that this isn't coming from, hatred because of what he did or didn't do to the Spurs. That was annoying, but I don't care. We're a new team now. We've already established that.
Not a thing we could do now.
Yeah, not a thing we could do.
Got to move on.
My thing is that I get tired of all of the pandemonium that always gets churned up with this stuff. And here's the thing: the real reason why I'm pissed is not even necessarily Kawhi. I'm mad because is this the level of basketball that we're saying is acceptable from the NBA?
No, the ratings are saying that it's not.
Well, right, but
Yeah.
when you listen to people talk about it, and people don't know, I talked to some people about it. I'm like, are you buying what you're seeing? Have you seen? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of get people that are not really certain, or maybe they're maybe they're afraid to be certain. But I mean, like, let's just call it what it is. This is terrible. This was just a bad finals.
There was a part of the third quarter in that game 5 the other night, or game 6 maybe. It went back and forth. It was interesting. It was a 3-point shot, long rebound. They go down, 3-point shot, jack it up before your team gets down there. They're jacking it up from like 28 feet.
Right.
Long rebound, goes the other way, and like literally 4 or 5 trips back and forth down the court, 3-point shots. That was it. Before people even get set up.
Yeah.
They're just kicking out a few passes, and then they're just jacking up threes. And so they hit 31% of your threes, and you're, hey, this is great.
Right.
Because if you get 31% of your threes, equates to better than 40% of your twos,
right,
or something like that.
right.
So and it's just because that's 90 to 80, or something like that. So
right.
I don't know. I'm looking at that kind of stuff, and it just I'm to your point. I don't think the NBA Finals. I don't think the NBA. Unless it's a superstar league. That's all it is.
Right.
So you've got to have a LeBron or somebody, and Kawhi is not a superstar at that level because he just has no personality for it.
Right.
Now, and then it's going to be interesting next year in the NBA now because, again, going back to that trade, Anthony Davis goes to L.A. LeBron's got Anthony Davis with him. Josh Hart's gone. Lonzo Ball, thank God, is out of L.A. Deserves to be in New Orleans where we don't hear about him anymore. And those guys are gone, and 3 number 1 draft picks goes to New Orleans. So New Orleans, you better win.
Right.
Because New Orleans, and now the NBA doesn't want that any more than they want San Antonio half the time because nobody watches that.
Right.
And we understand that. We don't care in San Antonio because we like our championships and we'll take them whether you want to watch them or not.
Right.
But I think that's going to be really interesting. It changes the landscape of the Western Conference next year. New Orleans is going to be pretty interesting to watch depending on what they draft. The Lakers are going to be better.
Yeah.
I mean, like Malik Rose said, they're championship contenders right now. Just getting Anthony Davis in there.
Right.
Because he's Kevin Durant.
Right.
In a good setting. He's that good. So you got those guys, and it's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Because the East is not going to get any, if Kawhi goes to the Clippers, then you got Kawhi with the Clippers, you've got LeBron and Anthony Davis with the Lakers. LA is going to be a much better power center for basketball.
Sure.
Everyone's got their work cut out for them in the West.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot different.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun to watch.
But you know what? I mean, going back to the game and the game play, though, here's the thing. I watched that. You go back to your point about the third quarter in Game 6. In that same third quarter, you saw the ball get kicked to the middle to a big, and the big could not put the ball up to save their life. Couldn't just go up for a dunk. Couldn't muscle your way up, get fouled, and get the dunk. Instead, they're kicking it back out to the 3.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. That's why LaMarcus Aldridge is such a dinosaur.
Do we have to go back to fundamentals with, coach? I don't you know what I mean? Like, I remember when Ryan was a kid, right? And he used to play YMCA ball. We'd always tell him when he played under the basket, don't go down with the ball, just go right back up and put it up.
Right.
Get a foul, get the basket. I mean, it's fundamental basketball. And at this level, why is it so hard to ask for that? I mean, it was blooper basketball.
Yeah.
Most of these games. I mean, this finals was laughable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know how more people aren't outraged by it.
I don't know. The NBA's in a particular situation now too. It's it's an interesting time for the league. It's going to be interesting to see if teams things are trends. I mean, things go back and forth in trends, but I think I think that's one of those things that it's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah.
If it continues in the way it's going, because winning basketball, you're probably going to have to play fundamental basketball at some point.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I hope so. Because this was awful. And I don't know. I mean, if it's this bad next year, we may not even talk finals. We'll just be in the pool. The show will be us in the pool just talking about beer for an hour.
Well, next year, if Kawhi leaves Toronto, it's going to be Milwaukee against,
of course,
New Orleans.
Exactly.
And then, let's see what the ratings are on that. God. I hope it's Milwaukee against San Antonio.
Oh, God, could you imagine?
Yeah, because that's the. In the East, that's it.
Yeah.
The East is going to be Milwaukee.
Yeah.
They're that good.
They are that good.
Now, unless the Brooklyn Nets get Kyrie Irving and they get, even Kevin Durant. They want Kevin Durant, but he's not going to play next year.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting.
It'll be fun. All right, man.
Anyway,
that was fun.
All right. Well, that's what's brewing this episode.
There was a lot brewing.
That's right. So, well, that was episode 19.
Yep.
And we'll be back again next week
for Tony Gwynn episode.
20. That's right.
Now, who next week, number 20, who would that be? Whose episode?
That's right.
That could be the Manu Ginobili episode. It's going to be, yes.
That's right.
My favorite athlete of all time.
Definitely mine as well. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Till next time, take it easy. All right.
We had fun.
That one ran a little long, but
We were laughing.
Glad I came home like literally right before you ended. Sorry.
Well, we went long.
Yeah, we did.